Hello, welcome to Slick Willy Fly. So I hope you enjoyed the 3-part Redfish series for beginners. And it was really difficult for me because I had a couple of other flies that I really wanted to include, but I really, wanted to just say, okay, these 3 flies. But I'm gonna go ahead and show you another fly. I didn't include it in the 3-part series. It's basically a very simple critter. It has 3 materials, 4 if you count the bead chain, little flash, a little marabou, and a little cactus chenille. And I say we jump in and tie this guy up because this is a great fly. In this particular version in the vise, I have also included a little bit of eyes. We'll put some eyes in the one I'm about to do, and I'll put a link to the video of how I make my eyes, but there's plenty of available store-bought eyes if you just want to go ahead and buy some eyes. So for materials, you know what, I'll show you my materials real quick. So for a hook, I'm using a Mustad 34007 in size 4, which I could put in the vise right now. And I'm going to go ahead and use some olive colored thread. It's going to be 6/0 thread, Vevus. I'm using a little bit of 50mm cactus chenille. This is awesome little polar chenille, I'm sorry. Love this stuff. And this like green gold, I don't even know what the color is. I bought this pack so long ago. Where's my pack? Here I have my green and some white in the same package because I lost the original packaging. I'm going to use 2 colors of Krystal flash. I'm going to use a little bit of pearl, a little bit of green. I'm going to use 1 Strung marabou. This is called, it's an olive. You know, they make a bunch of olives. This is called Sculpin Olive is the color. And it's just a color that I really like for this fly. It's a little bit of a darker olive, but it's not exactly brown. And I think it looks really good in those dark, muddy type waters where so many redfish love to live. I'm going to use medium-sized bead chain. And in this one, I'm going to use a black bead chain. And then I'm going to use a little bit of silly legs. Here I used a green barred. For the one we're about to tie, I'm going to go for gold with, this is like, it's like a root beer color with a little gold flake. I think it's called pumpkin actually is what it's called. But yeah, so let's change the camera angle so you get a little bit better view, and let's tie the fly. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. It really helps out. And now we're gonna tie the fly. Okay, so let's go ahead and put some thread on this hook. Just for a little base. That's far enough back. And now I'm gonna go ahead and put my bead chain eyes. So placement of the bead chain eyes, I want to make sure that I leave enough space so that I could build a little head. So I would say the length of the bead chain is about where I want to place them. And I'm just going to do a few wraps one way, go a few wraps the opposite way. Make sure that I like that they're sitting centered and nicely, while I can still adjust them just like that. And now I'm just gonna lock them in. 7, 8, 10 wraps each way. And once I feel good, then I do my figure 8s here over and under, just to lock it all in. And just to make sure that this never goes anywhere, I'm going to give it a light touch of a little super glue. That's plenty. A lot of times you'll see me when I put super glue, I'll come back and put a couple more wraps, because by putting a couple more wraps in, you kind of like push that super glue down into the thread. Not a bad idea. Alright, so the next step, 1 strand of green Krystal flash. which I'm going to fold and then fold again. And now I'm just going to take it and I'm going to put it on the hook. It doesn't really matter that it's not perfectly even because I'm going to trim it. I'm just going to get it on the hook, and I want it to end up on the top of the hook, even though we all know because of the bead chain that the top of the hook is actually going to be the bottom of the fly. That's where I want it to end up. And by folding it over like that, it makes it really, really tough. Open up all these loops, trim that one crazy long one, just to be sure. All right, so the next step is my marabou feather. So the marabou, I don't really want the marabou super long. About the length of the Krystal flash right now is plenty, I would say. So I'm gonna stroke it with a little saliva, easier to work with. And now I'm gonna cut it. I want to touch the bead chain just in case that super glue is not dry yet. But I'm gonna say about to the bead chain. So I trim it that length. I'm gonna bring my thread just to the back of the bead chain. And now I'm gonna go ahead and give this a couple of loose wraps. And then I'm going to work the marabou around the hook shank. I'm not pulling tight. These are all loose wraps right now. And I just want to see how it's looking, because this is going to be the top of the fly. So I want to work it just a little bit more. Still want to work it just a little bit more. That looks good. I'm starting to get coverage on all sides there. So now I'm going to continue to work my thread to the back, about where the bend of the hook starts. And now I can crank that tight. All right. So now I need to get some eyes, which I didn't. All right, so we're back. So in this previous fly that I showed you, on this one, I don't know if you can see them if I put everything back. I used green eyes, which I think they look pretty cool. But I like to make my flies a little different. So for this one, I think I'm going to use some red eyes. And again, I'm going to put a link. I make all my eyes. You can see my little bag here. I make them a little different size, a little different colors. But I like to make my eyes. I just think it's fun. And I'll put a link on how I do it. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this up. First I'm going to get a length. I personally like to have my eyes a little long. I like my eyes to stick out. Now you have to remember that this is the bottom of the hook. It's going to ride hook side up. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that when I put this on, that it's long enough, but I'm thinking about my angle. And I like that length, and I like that angle, so I can lock it in. And now I'm going to go ahead and put a wrap right behind the eye. Or two, just like that. That's locked in pretty good. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side. Gotta give it a little trim first, a little long. So all I do is I take some hard mono and I make eyes out of hard mono. Again, super easy, super fun. Just gives it a little bit more personal touch that I happen to love. And I don't know, I just think it's fun. Fun to do. Sometimes marabou, it's so much easier to work with if you moisten it. And again, I'm going to do a couple of wraps behind, just to make sure that everything is locked nice and tight. And that came out great. Alright, so now it's the pearl crystal flash. And then it's going to be, I'm going to attach my chenille, attach my rubber legs, and finish the fly. So one strand of the pearl. I could have got all this ready ahead of time, but I didn't. So bear with me. You know, you don't need a lot of this. This pearl I want a bit longer than the green. So I basically divide it, fold it, divide it, put it on my thread, and now I'm gonna go ahead and lock it on top. Couple of turns. Now I'm gonna split them, make sure that they end up where I want them. Just like that. Sometimes you need more than 2 hands, but that'll work. Perfect. And I'll trim the length later. I'm gonna open the loop though. Beautiful. All right, so the next step is to attach the chenille. And we're just gonna attach it and let it hang. You know, it's easier if I pop this fly out and invert it. It's just easier to work with my vise that way. Okay, a little bit more straight. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and attach my chenille. It's important that you bring the thread all the way to where you want the chenille to start wrapping. And now I'm going to start attaching my legs. I'm going to attach my legs the same way that you saw me do on one of the Redfish fly series flies. I can put the link to that one also. So, oops, gotta be careful with the point of your hook, guys. So a couple of wraps and just let it hang out of the way. Next set of legs, same thing. Couple of wraps and let them hang out of the way. And I'm going to put a third set of legs on this one because I have room. Couple of wraps, lock it in, bring my thread under the eyes. Now I'm going to bring the last set of legs I just put on, and I'm going to give it 2 wraps. Now I'm going to bring the second set of legs over, and I'm going to give it 2 wraps. Just to keep them where I want them. And now the first set of legs that I put on, and give it 2 wraps. It's important that I always give it 2 wraps, so when I start unwrapping, I know how many wraps I have to unwrap. All right, so now I'm going to start with my polar chenille, and I'm just going to do my best to keep everything going back, all these fibers. So maybe 2 turns is plenty. Unwrap the first set of legs, get them where I want them. One at a time is usually the best way. So I went around the far side leg, and now I'm going to go around the near side leg, just like that. Probably 2 turns is plenty. And now I do the same thing. 2 turns, unwrap the legs. Figure out which are the ones I just unwrapped. That's one of them. So I can go around that one to start. I gotta figure out which is my next one. It is this one, yes. And I just go around that one. Beautiful. So one more turn should be plenty. Unwrap the last 2 legs. See how they lay naturally. I want that one. And now I want the opposite side, just like that. Beautiful. So now my legs are attached. They're more or less coming out of the fly where I want them. And now I can just come under with my thread and capture this chenille. And pretty much we're finished. It's just I'm just making sure that I have everything locked good. Not grabbing any legs, that's important. And once I feel good that I have it trapped, I can remove the chenille. Perfect. So now I come under the head, under the eyes, and now it's just a whip finish. Clean this up a little, some of these crazies. So after I whip finish, I'm going to do a little bit of trimming on the chenille. I trimmed the bottom side of this fly so that makes sure that the fly rides in the orientation that I want it to swim. I want it to swim hook up, so that's important to me. You know what, one thing we can do more, we could do it right now, so we could put a weed guard in. Let me just get a little bit of hard mono. Don't need much. This is Mason's hard mono, and this one I think is 16. I'm pretty sure this isn't 20. So I have this little tool that I can make a flat spot with, which I like to do. I use the natural curve of the mono, just like that. And now I'm going to make a flat spot, and I'm going to bend the mono, which will help me install this. So all I'm going to do is go ahead and place this right on the top of the hook, and I'm going to tie in that flat spot. And I need to trim it just a hair. I don't want it coming out over the eye of the hook. was just a hair long. So now a whip finish. Trim the rubber legs, trim the chenille, do a little UV resin on the head. Wow, that was perfect. Ended up perfect there. Maybe a little trim work necessary here. There you go. Yes. The mono, I like to cut it just beyond the hook. I'd rather it be a little bit long than too short. I can always trim it again. That piece I'm going to save because I can actually make another fly with that piece of hard mono. Alright, so now trimming. I'm hoping that I'm going to stay inside the frame here for you. First things first, got to make sure that all my legs are on the correct side. I have 3. Feels like I'm missing a leg somewhere. There it is. Okay, so all my legs are where they're supposed to be. So I like to take my legs, put them together. Remember, if you stretch them, when you let go, they're going to end up shorter than what you had anticipated. So I just have them straight. I'm not stretching them. I just have them straight. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim them. And I think that that comes out perfect. They're not too long, not too short. I really just like the way they end up. And now I'm going to pop this out. Flip it over. Carefully, not cutting any of the Krystal flash. Again, I'm going to moisten my marabou a little. And I'm going to go ahead and give this a little trim on the bottom of the fly. And by trimming this extra material, I think it really helps this fly ride the way I want it to ride in the water. Beautiful. Perfect. So there it is. Oh, I can trim this flash now a little as well. I think the pearl flash might be a hair long. So I take them and I want them to be a little bit long, almost like antenna. Missed one. We're actually going to say that that shortest one is going to be the right length. So trim them right there. So they're a little bit longer now. And this fly is going to sit in the water just like that. With a little weed guard. I mean, it's a great little fly. Perfect for any inshore species, saltwater species. It's got eyes, it's got marabou which comes to life in the water. You know, once this fly gets wet a little bit, it will actually look better. They need a little water treatment sometimes. But yeah, this is, I'm really happy with this. So one last thing I can do real quick is a little UV resin on the knot. I like the way it looks, and it really makes the fly very durable. Got one wild hair sticking out there. Get rid of that. And now I'm just going to take a simple medium viscosity. You could take bone dry. You could take anything. You can use hard as nails. Sometimes I use fly finish. You know, there's a lot of products that you can use for this. But yeah, just a little tiny bit of resin. Careful not to trap anything that you don't want trapped. I just like the way it looks. It makes the fly really durable. Hit it with my UV lamp. 10, 20, 30 seconds. You know that little bit of super glue on the bead chain? And this little UV resin, this will be a very durable fly. The only way you hurt this fly is if you rip all the material off trying to get the fly out of a fish's mouth. You know, if you're careful when you're taking the hook out of a fish's mouth and just grab the hook and not the material, this fly will catch dozens of fish. It's very few materials. It's not a complicated tie. I think it was maybe a little, this particular fly, because of the eyes maybe, and just, I don't know. I really wanted it to be in my Redfish series, so that's why I'm releasing it now. But it just, I think it's a great fly, and I was so tempted. But you know, which fly am I going to replace? You can't replace a clouser. So yeah, so there it is. Hey, so there it is. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you give this fly a try, because it is a great fly. This is, it's got all the little features that I think make a fish want to bite. It's got some eyes, it's got a little flash, it just will push enough water. I just really like this fly. So don't forget to find me on Instagram. Look for Slick Willy on Instagram. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you on the next video.